Hi, I'm Rick Maurer. And if you're on my mailing list or we're connected on LinkedIn, you probably knew that already. But if you got this video because somebody sent it to you and you don't have a clue who I am, let me just give you a few words. I have focused my work since the early 90s on two questions. Why do people support us? Why do they resist us? Because I find that leaders and consultants and coaches who can answer those questions do a whole lot better at building and maintaining support for big projects and other kind of organizational changes. And I keep trying to find ways to refine what I'm teaching or what I'm using in my coaching. And so this fall, I ran an online program and I had people from 4 countries. And we met over the course of 5 weeks. And everything, like I say, was virtual. And we would meet, we would talk about the content for that week. People would pose problems. People would give each other advice when they when it was asked for, and it was an invigorating program, and people told me they got a lot out of it, and I got a lot out of it too. And I mean, isn't that the purpose of a pilot test, is so you can learn what's working and what isn't? And the big thing that I learned was that the more I stuck with the fundamentals, the foundation pieces, the better off they were. It gave them something solid to stand on, and then they could start building simple things, and then, without guidance from me, actually expand that and do some really interesting work from it. So whatever I do next is going to really build on this idea of what are the foundation pieces and how do we make them practical so that we could use them tomorrow. So imagine tomorrow you've got that boring weekly meeting, and just my mentioning it, you're rolling your eyes and going, oh no, not another one of those. And that you hear one of these tips, you go, I might be able to use that. So here's where you come in. Each week over the next 2-3 months, I hope to record a short video like this, or perhaps just send you an email with some tip or a tip. And it's something that you might find useful, like right then. And you can then say to Rick, hey, here's what happened. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. In fact, here's what might make it better. And so we can have that kind of exchange. So I hope that you think that might be valuable. So here's the tip for this week. And it's based on something I developed a number of years ago called the energy bar. I was working with a client. It was a scientific organization. And they were stuck. They had a stakeholder group and they just didn't know which way to go with them. And so they're throwing out a lot of terms. Unfortunately, some of these were terms that I had come up with, but they clearly were stuck. And I said, folks, stop. It's just energy. Either it's moving this way or it's moving that way. That's it. And they said, oh, okay. And one of the people was a nuclear physicist, and he said, "Oh, energy. We like energy." And the whole conversation shifted. That was my only intervention. Hey, it's energy. It's either moving this way or that way. And the whole meeting changed. I mean, for the better, by the way. The next week, I'm working with a different client. It's a healthcare organization, and the change management group is talking about this one stakeholder that they were having a problem with, and they were getting stuck. And there was a big whiteboard. It took a whole wall. And I got up and I drew a horizontal line. And I said, okay, imagine that this is a band of energy. Okay. And over here is strong support. And way over here is strong opposition. Okay. And then there are places in between. What kind of energy do you need from these people? And they said, oh, we need, and they said a bunch of things kind of near the top. And I might have asked a couple questions. And I said, well, what kind of energy are you expecting to get? And they go, oh, way over here. And you could hear their voices changed and everything. So now there are these two marks on this line. And I took a marker and just connected those two. And I said, you see that gap? They go, yeah, that's where the work is. You got to know, why is there a gap before you do anything else? And they go, oh, yeah. And they started working with it. And about a half hour later, some late arrivals came to the meeting, and one of my clients leaned over to me and said, Rick, do you mind if I teach them the energy bar? Now, at this point, it wasn't the energy bar. It was a line on a whiteboard. But he then got up and taught it to them. And he knew as much about it as you do right now. And he said, yeah, Rick introduced us to the energy bar and blah, blah, blah. And people were going, oh, huh. And they started using it. And so I continue to work with that and have a little bit more sophisticated way of looking at it. But the basic thing is you got a line, and there's positive energy here, negative energy here, and there's a whole scale there, and it's always moving. So if that's interesting to you, right at the end of this video, you'll see a link, and the link is to a 4-minute animated cartoon. Oh boy. And in it, I describe what the energy bar is, what are some of the gradations on the positive and negative side, and how you might use it right now. So thank you for watching. Hope this is helpful.